Hi, Rahil. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
The last time we met, we went over your history. We performed a couple different orthopedic exams, and we went in depth about exactly what you're feeling, when it started, et cetera, et cetera. Since then, I've been reviewing your file. I've done some research, talked to some metro docs, and try to figure out what exactly is the best plan for you moving forward to improve your state of being. Before we really get into like the meat and potatoes of the conversation, I kind of wanted to just set the groundwork in that this is the relationship you and I have is going to be a partnership. Whereas, I'm going to put in my work, and in turn, I expect you to reciprocate the same kind of effort. And at any point, if you have any questions or concerns, just let me know, and I'll definitely take that into account when formulating our visits. So first and foremost, I wanted to talk about what health is and what your perception of health is. So what do you perceive is health? Like, what do you think healthy is?
Just being able to function from day to day, getting through all my work, spending time with my family, just being happy.
Cool. No, I totally agree with that. I mean, for me, it would be the shortest way to put it would be that my interpretation of healthy is going to be performing at your body performing at its optimal level, and that can encompass a lot of different things. It can be things like if you are perceiving pain, if you are getting adjusted, all those things are signs of health, but it also encompasses things like diet and sleep and how much water you're drinking, your psychosocial health. It's all encompassing, and moving forward, we do want to make an effort to try to address all of those different aspects of health. Secondly, I would like to ask you, what do you think a subluxation is in layman's terms?
So from what I know, I just heard it's just something that kind of just doesn't help your body adjust 100% to what it can perform.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. I mean, the fact that you even know what it is a step in the right direction.
Just from what I heard from my friends.
Exactly. I mean, the term subluxation, actually, it's a medical term, and we use it with more meaning in chiropractic. If you were to go into, say, the ER, and they say, someone's got a patellar subluxation, it means that literally the patella dislocated and went back. It's a partial dislocation. And all the joints can do that. There can all be these partial dislocations. Now, in the DC realm, in the chiropractic realm, it's a very similar meaning in that it can be malalignment, misalignment, whichever you prefer, but we address the neurological and broader biomechanical aspects of it. Interference with nerves, muscle straining and tensing, etc., etc. That is our bread and butter right there. So just to kind of lay that down, again, I wanted to reemphasize the whole idea of this being a partnership, and we'll explain a lot more as we go on. The whole thing will be a learning process, and just as I want to treat you and put you in a better state of health and a better well-being, a lot more, and what I think is more important is you understanding why things happen and what you can do to express your health better. Sure. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to go over x-rays. I have a couple of shots from previous interns on file. A disclaimer would be I don't have all the shots that I want. So in the future, that might be something we may discuss, is taking further shots, just to clarify. So the first one we're going to look at is your lumbar, that's the low back. Okay. Right? So if you see here, pulling it up, every single one of our x-rays comes with the report and everything too. But if you look here, the posterior aspect of the spine is a little bit enclosed. So you see that it's not supposed to, they're not supposed to be that close. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So the spacing here is great. There isn't much pressure, but if it's enclosed like that, it's just going to put a little bit more pressure on the structures there. I know your main complaint is low back pain. Mm-hmm. The actual diagnosis that we are thinking for you is lumbar facet referral, which is actually going to be This is this finding here of the posterior lipping. This is that. See how the growth right there on the back side of these vertebral bodies. This is the vertebra. Here's the body, and that lipping right there. Just a little bit of a narrowing. Again, I don't want you to be freaked out by this, but this could be something that could be playing into your symptoms. With that local low back pain, a little bit of shooting down the leg. It's all connected. But here's an example of your film, lateral lumbar. For the most part, there isn't really anything that I'm super concerned about. There isn't anything that is a giant red flag. It's just something that we want to track and see if we can make a change to prohibit any more of this kind of lipping, because that is a sign of like early arthritis and something that everybody deals with. So at this point, we want to try to nip it in the bud while we can. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Next, this one is called anterior posterior. So you're looking straight on to the lumbar pelvic. This one's most definitely a better shot for sure as far as quality. But if you see, the biggest thing here is you have a little bit of a curve. Notice that lateral curve there. Again, most people, when they see things like this, they jump straight into like scoliosis. We do have a specific angle we can measure for that, and depending on where you fall in that spectrum, can qualify you or not qualify as scoliosis. But as far as I'm concerned, you aren't complaining of scoliosis. You don't fall within that category. So there aren't any big red flags. I'm not going to treat you any differently. If that's another thing too that moving forward we would want to address, if they got better or worse, just something to keep track of. Does that make sense? But if you notice that vertebra moving straight up and down, ribs, pelvis, becomes a little bit more familiar when you get the landmarks. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So the next view we're going to look at is going to be your cervicals. And I picked through a little bit more with these because you were under topical care before. So the films are a little bit different than I would for like your basic films, a little bit more specific. But as far as what you need to know, the curve that you're exhibiting is a little bit less than what we want it to be. Typical is going to be a 35 to 45 degree curve. Yours is a little bit less than that, which is okay. Everyone's a little bit different, and again, it's not giving you any major symptoms, so I'm not super concerned. It's just another thing that we want to track, see if there's any progression. Does that make sense? And again, the spacing here is not exactly where I want it to be. Again, it's not a giant red flag, but it's something we can work on. It's all just improvements of things we can do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So moving forward, if we want to try something new, like there are different traction techniques that we could employ to help with restoration of a curve. A lot of that is backed by evidence, and it's great because the more literature you have, the better, right? So just looking through some of your basic films. If you have any more questions, just let me know, and we can revisit it any time. I mean, this is yours. This is your file. It belongs to you, and only me, you and I can see it. With the mentors under my permission. If you want to visit any time, feel free to let me know. We can do that.
Sure.
So now I kind of just want to talk about our plan moving forward. You came in and complained about low back pain, and along with the discussions I had with the mentor docs, we've come to the conclusion that lumbar facet referral is a good diagnosis. And what that basically means is that you just have a little bit of impingement of the nerves there in the lower lumbars, causing a little bit of a shooting pain. That's very common with your symptoms of pain with back extension and the whole onset of repetitive trauma with the running or improper surfaces, improper shoes, constant strain on that whole posterior chain. Again, it's all connected, and that's evident in your findings of hamstring tightness, right? Any pull in the back there is going to pull the structure above, hamstrings, low back, all connected. So as far as a plan, I'd like to see you 3 times a week for the first 2 weeks. We're going to be doing full spine adjusting. See how you respond to that. I do plan on tapering off a little bit after that 2-week period, dropping down to two times a week for the remaining 6 weeks. We block it off into 8-week periods. And after that 8 weeks, we'll do a reevaluation, reassess where you're at. And again, I don't want you to be too fixated on pain. More of it's going to be function. So I am going to be looking at my anecdotal findings with the orthopedic tests, seeing exactly if we had any changes, especially in the hip tightness and the limited or in the hamstring tightness and limited hip mobility. You know, those are factors that I really want to rule out when it comes to anything moving forward, because on top of mitigating pain, getting rid of pain, I also want to improve performance and prevent any complications. That is the goal. As far supplements from my treatment plans are going to involve ultrasounds, if need be, if your pain scale is above a 2 out of 10 on our VAS scale. And I can freely do that as soon as I pass the courses this quarter. I'm currently enrolled in it. I do want you to perform a couple different active rehab exercises. I've got a handout for you with that. I also have handouts as far as sleep and diet as well. Your fruits and vegetable intake is great. We do want you to drink a little bit more water and get a little bit more sleep, and you notice that as one of your goals as well. But as far as the exercises go, I've got you doing glute bridges, which you can progress to with bands if they become too easy. Your core exercises are going to be like you're doing your planks, you're going to be doing your leg raises, pretty much just strengthening the core and strengthening the glutes to try to relieve some of the pressure off the hamstrings and the hip flexors. That should open up the hips, relieve pressure off the hamstrings. But the most important thing I have prescribed for you is going to be your breathing exercises. And a lot of people neglect your breathing exercises, and that again is shown in the handout, and I will show you an example as well. But that's the most important thing. And when you're doing these exercises, it becomes a little bit more comfortable because these exercises are meant to target those weaknesses that you have. So they may become difficult even though they are just body weight. Feel free to ice it down for no more than 20 minutes after the activity. If you're experiencing any other low back pain again because of this or any other activity, I recommend icing for 20 minutes for every 2-hour period. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
20 minutes, wait 2 hours, on again. But yeah, so I mean, that's pretty much it, all I have for you. We can talk later as far as the scheduling goes with our appointments. But before we conclude, is there anything you want from me?
No, I think you made it pretty clear.
Cool.
And good.
Cool. Again, the whole thing that I really want to express to you, and what the main point I want to get across, is that this is partnership. So at any point, I want you to feel comfortable to be able to vocalize anything to me in discomfort. If you want something more or something different, let me know, and I'll try to accommodate that as best as I can.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.